Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Hello and welcome. This is the 10th tutorial session that we are having on thermodynamics. I am Dr. Jishnu Bhattacharya, an associate professor in mechanical engineering, IIT Kanpur. The book that you are seeing in your screen, that's the thermodynamics book by Cengel and Boles. That's the book we follow for undergraduate teaching in IIT Kanpur. Okay, so in this tutorial session, for the series of these tutorial sessions that we are having, we are solving problems from this book to understand thermodynamics and the problem solving techniques. We are assuming that the chapters you have learned in your classes from the book, and here we are solving problems. Whenever required, we are touching upon few concepts but not elaborating on them. Okay, so in earlier tutorials, what we did, we covered this from chapter 1 to chapter 7. Up to entropy, we have covered through the first 9 tutorial sessions. Okay, so today we are going to take up few problems from chapter 8. Chapter 8 is another crucial chapter. It is exergy, a measure of work potential. So I assume that you have learned this chapter and different techniques, how to measure exergy, what it means, and why do you need to measure exergy, all these things. And this concept is intricately related to the entropy concept, which we looked at in the last tutorial. Okay, so the first problem we are going to take is on a closed system. Okay, in the last tutorial also, the last problem we took was on a closed system. So we'll take problems both on closed system, open system, and then where work is involved, where only heat is involved. So all kinds of things we'll do to illustrate the concepts. So here an insulated piston cylinder device contains 0.8 liter of saturated liquid water, okay, at constant pressure of 120 kilopascal. An electrical work is done on the water in the amount of 1400 kilojoule. Okay, so here on the right hand side you can see that the schematic diagram, you have a piston cylinder arrangement where everything is insulated, but you are putting in one electrical work input through a coil, and the amount of that is 1400 kilojoule given. Okay, assuming the surroundings to be at 25 degrees centigrade and at 100 kilopascal, determine the minimum work with which the process can be accomplished. Okay, so again from the entropy chapter, you know, minimum work is meant when the process is reversible. Okay, so that's the condition of minimum work. Now the exergy destroyed, the second part of the query is exergy destroyed during this process. Okay, exergy or the work potential. So you know that for any irreversible or any real process, exergy will be destroyed. Just like entropy is getting generated, exergy is getting destroyed. Exergy or the work potential. Okay, so that's the signature of any real process. So we have to quantify that, and all the tools you have learned in this chapter 8 will be used here. Okay, so first observation on this system is that it's a closed system. Okay, and closed system means that there is no mass interaction. Okay, so and the piston is allowed to move up and down, so it allows the boundary work to be done, and the electrical work is coming in through this external electrical coil. Okay, so now first thing, mass balance we don't have to require. So there are three parts, right? You have understood earlier: mass balance, energy balance, and entropy balance. Here we will do exergy balance, which is equivalent to entropy balance. Okay, so here mass balance we don't have to do because this is a closed system and mass is not changing. So there is no question of mass balance. The first thing we need to do is the energy balance. So for energy balance, what is coming in and what is going out, that has to match the change in internal energy, right? That's the first law. So what is coming in, that is the work, electrical work input, WE in, and what is going out, that is the boundary work. So this, as the pressure will go up, this piston will be pushed up, right? And unless it is brought to the equilibrium, it will move. So that way the boundary work is going out, and the difference is giving us the difference in internal energy of the liquid or the fluid inside the piston cylinder device. So here what we can write, that this work, electrical work input can be written as delta U plus the boundary work. Okay, so this we know, delta U plus WB out is by definition is the delta H, or the change in enthalpy of the gas. So now this delta capital H means mass into the delta of small h, H2 minus H1. Okay, so here what we know and what we don't know, here this WE in, that's given. Let me zoom it a little bit so that it's easily visible. So this W electrical, that's given, and mass we don't know. Okay, mass we have to find out, and H1 we can get from the table, from the state properties. The initial state is given in terms of temperature and pressure. So with that information we can find out what the H1 is, and H2 we don't have any idea, that we have to find out. Let's see how to get there. Zoom this out a little bit. Okay, so now for state 1, what is given? The pressure is given 120 kilopascal and it's given saturated liquid. Okay, now this at this condition, the specific volume you can look up, that is saturated liquid specific volume at pressure 120 kilopascal. So this is the value that you can look up, and similarly you can find out what is H1, or specific enthalpy at state 1, that would be specific enthalpy of saturated liquid at 120 kilopascal. Similarly, the specific entropy you can find, that would be 1.3609 kilojoule per kg Kelvin. Okay, so all these things you can look up from the table. So once you have the specific volume and you know the initial total volume, okay, so you will be able to find out the mass. Mass will be total volume divided by the specific volume. So that way you find the mass to be 7.639 kilogram. Okay, so in the equation we now know both mass and H1. Okay, so in this equation both mass and H1 we found out, WE is given. So H2 you can calculate by putting all those values, that is 622.63 kilojoule per kilogram. Okay, so now what we know for the state 2, we have just figured out what is the specific enthalpy of state 2, and it is also given the pressure at state 2 is 120 kilopascal. So pressure is not changing. Okay, so if that is the case, then we know two state properties and we will be able to find the other properties. But before we do that, we need to first find what is the phase composition of state 2. Phase composition means what? Whether it is subcooled liquid, whether it is superheated vapor, or whether it is a mixture of saturated liquid and vapor. Okay, so this we did few times in earlier tutorials. Again, we will do it here. We have to check the property at the saturated liquid line and saturated vapor line. So if we see that, if we find out those values from the table, what we can get that the state 2 H2 is in between HF and HG. That means state 2 is in the two-phase dome. Okay, neither it is a subcooled liquid nor it is a superheated vapor. So it is a two-phase region. So if it is two-phase region, then we can find what is the quality of the vapor. X2 will be equal to H2 minus HF divided by Hg minus HF. All these values we look up, and H2 we figured out earlier. Okay, so by putting all those things, we can find the X2 will be equal to 0.08168. So about 8% is pure vapor and the rest is pure liquid. And once we know the X2, we can find the respective value of specific entropy in state 2. That will be S2 will be equal to SF plus X into SFG. So if we look up these values from the table and carry out this calculation, we will get 1.8459 kilojoule per kg Kelvin. Okay, so state 2, all the relevant properties now we know. Okay, now what's the next step? Another thing we need to know here is the specific volume. Okay, specific volume, because all these values you will require for calculation of exergy. So specific volume will be equal to this Vf plus X2 into Vfg, and again you can find out those individual values from the table, and V2 will be equal to 0.1176 meter cube per kg. Okay, so now we know both the states fully, all the information we obtained. Now the first part of the query, it asks us that what would be the minimum work input. Okay, so minimum work means if the process was reversible, then with the least amount of work you could accomplish the same amount of boundary work or same amount of delta U. Okay, so for that it means exergy destruction has to be 0. So the signature of reversible work is exergy destruction will be 0 or entropy generation will be 0. So if we write the exergy balance equation, here also, unlike mass and energy, exergy can be destroyed. Okay, so the exergy transfer due to mass and heat, that is x in minus x out, that thing has to be, and minus x destroyed, that means exergy destroyed will be equal to delta x of the system. That means the change in exergy. So for minimum work, we already told that the exergy destruction will be 0. So this term does not appear. Okay, and the exergy transfer due to mass and heat, here it is insulated, so no heat interaction. Only work interaction that's happening through is the reversible work input. Okay, so that whatever the value is, we don't know. Okay, so that reversible work input is unknown, and that would be equal to x2 minus x1. That means change in exergy of the system. So now change in exergy of the system, by definition, what we know for a closed system, that change in exergy is nothing but the mass multiplied by this quantity. What is this quantity? This quantity contains change in internal energy minus T naught into change in entropy, specific entropy, plus P naught, which is pressure of the surrounding multiplied by the change in specific volume. Okay, so here you notice that this T naught and P naught does not correspond to the mass we are concerned about. It corresponds to the environment. Okay, so these are for the surroundings, not of the system. So this is the crucial concept you should carry, that exergy is a joint property of the system and the surrounding. Okay, so that is why this T naught and P naught appear in the definition of change in exergy. Okay, so now all the values here we know, this U2, U1, T naught, S2, S1, V2, V1 and P naught, we all know, I mean all of these we know, and mass also we have found out. So ultimately just put those values and you can calculate the reversible work input is 278 kilojoule. So that's a minuscule amount, right? So actual work we are putting in is 1400 kilojoule, and the minimum work that we require, if the process is reversible idealistic, then it is only about 300 kilojoule, less than 300 kilojoule. Okay, so the sense of perspective is very important, that how much work we are losing to the irreversibility. And that's the second portion of the problem. What is the second portion asking? It is asking how much exergy is getting destroyed in the process. Okay, so exergy destroyed, it's very straightforward in the sense that you just find out what is the entropy generated, multiply it with the surrounding temperature, that will give you the exergy destroyed. Okay, so let's do that. If we write the entropy balance equation, this we have written multiple times in the last tutorial, this S in minus S out. So here there is no flow going in or out, so this part will be 0. Okay, and plus S generated, that means entropy generated, will be equal to the delta S of system, or change in entropy of the system. So basically generated entropy is nothing but M into S2 minus S1. Okay, so this is straightforward, and we can figure that out by putting the values that we already obtained. This is the mass 7.639 kg and S2 minus S1. These values we also obtained from the steam table and other subsequent calculation, where the properties are given and some properties we had to find out. Okay, so ultimately the entropy generated, that is coming out to be 3.7049 kilojoule per Kelvin. Okay, now exergy destroys, as I told you, that it's straightforward. You just multiply this generated entropy value with the surrounding temperature, which is T naught. T naught is given to be 25 degrees centigrade, that means 298 Kelvin, and this is the exergy, the entropy generated. So the amount that you get is 1104 kilojoule. So you can imagine, out of 1400 we are losing 1100 odd kilojoules just as the lost work potential. So this kind of loss, and from here we get the concept of second law efficiency, right? The first law efficiency gives you that how much work you can get out of certain amount of heat. But the second law efficiency gives you that you compared with a realistic value. You cannot convert all the heat into work, right? So whatever heat is convertible, that means the Carnot value, Carnot heat engine value, out of that, how much you can convert. Okay, so exergy just gives you um, the amount of work potential for any heat. Okay, so here exergy destroyed means this much work potential is simply lost. Okay, so that gives brings us to the end of this problem. Okay, which is on a closed system. Now we'll move to the next problem. Okay, so this is the next problem. Okay, so this problem is on a flow system. Okay, air is compressed and it is on a ideal gas. Okay, not, you don't have to look up table all the time. So air is compressed steadily by an 8 kilowatt compressor. Okay, so this is the air compressor and air is getting compressed through a work input of 8 kilowatt. Okay, and from the initial state is 100 kilopascal and 17 degrees centigrade. That's the initial state. Okay, and the final state after it goes out of the compressor is 600 kilopascal and 167 degrees centigrade. Okay, now at a rate of, so the rate of airflow is 2.1 kg per minute. Now if you neglect the changes in kinetic and potential energy, which are negligible often, and that is why we don't bother about them, what we need to determine is the increase in exergy of air. Okay, so here you had certain work potential of airflow and you now input 8 kilowatt of work on that stream and you are getting at certain other state and you want to find what is the work potential change while it goes through the air compressor. Okay, the next thing it asks is the rate of exergy destroyed during the process. Okay, so similar to the earlier problem in terms of the query, but here the system is different. This is a control volume system, while the earlier one was a closed system. Okay, so yeah, and another thing is given is the temperature of the surrounding is 17 degrees centigrade. As the exergy itself requires the surrounding condition, it's a joint or combined property of the system and the surrounding. That is why you require the surrounding temperature as well. Okay, so this is the problem statement. This is the schematic diagram corresponding to the statement. Now what we note here, first is it's a steady flow process. Whatever is going in, the same amount is going out without any change with time. Now next thing is air temperature varies over almost 200 degrees centigrade here, right? So from 17 degree to 167 degree. Okay, so more about a lot of temperature difference we can see. So the variability of specific heat we need to take into consideration. So if you look at the table, this one we did not consider in case of the earlier tutorial. There is ideal gas table for air and other gases also. Okay, so here we are going to use it. You will find it in the appendix of the any book. Okay, so we'll use the air table instead of using constant Cp and Cv specific heats. Okay, so for state 1, what is given is temperature is 290 Kelvin, enthalpy is 290.16 kilojoule per kg. These value, so T1 is given, okay, and the enthalpy value you can look up. And another thing you can look up here is the S1 naught. S1 naught is 1.66802 kilojoule per kg Kelvin. What is this naught stands for? It gives you, so we have seen earlier that entropy is a function of temperature as well as pressure. Okay, so whenever we mention naught, that means it is taking only the temperature part, and naught means it is evaluated at standard pressure of 1 atmosphere. Okay, so you have to include the pressure part on top of this, but this is available in the table, so we just take that value. Okay, now let's go to the next portion where thus the outlet condition is also given. T2 is 440 Kelvin, and you can find out from the table H2 to be 441.61 kilojoule per kilogram. And similarly S2 naught, again it's just the temperature part is given for the entropy, and it is evaluated at standard pressure. Okay, and the value is 2.0887 kilojoule per kg Kelvin. So if we find the Exergy balance equation, so this delta X of the system is nothing but X2 minus X1. Okay, so X2 minus X1, you can write it with the definition of entropy, Exergy, that's H2 minus H1 minus T naught. Okay, T naught is the surrounding temperature multiplied by S2 minus S1. Okay, so now H2 minus H1 minus T naught S2 minus S1, S2 naught minus S1 naught, because this S2 minus S1, it contains both the temperature dependence as well as the pressure dependence, right? But this S2 naught minus S1 naught, this contains only the effect of temperature difference. So what you need to include is the effect of pressure. That means T naught into R of natural log of P2 by P1. So this whole thing gives us what is the change in Exergy. So what we know here, H2, H1 we looked up from the table, S2 naught, S1 naught we have looked up from the table, T naught we know, and R we need to find out from the table again. R for air is 0.287 kilojoule per kilogram Kelvin, and T naught is given to be 290 Kelvin or 17 degrees centigrade. Okay, so all other values are known. So delta X, you directly calculate this to be 178.6 kilojoule per kg. Okay, now if there is no destruction of Exergy, that means if it's a reversible process, then the delta X would be amount of work output per unit mass, right? So entropy is what? It's the work potential, right? Now if nothing is lost, no destruction of enthalpy Exergy is happening, then the whole delta X will be available as work output per unit mass. So this will be equal to W dot reversible in, right? So W dot reversible in, that is equal to M dot into delta X. Whatever Exergy change happened in the system, that will be equal to the reversible work output. So now mass flow rate that we know here, the 2.1 kg per minute. So that means 2.1 divided by 60 kg per second multiplied by this 178.6 kilojoule per kg, what we just found out. Okay, so the reversible work input is 6.25 kilowatt. Okay, so basically how much, so work input is done to the compressor, right? It rotates the shaft and thus you accomplish the pressure rise of the airstream. So the reversible work input, that would be 6.25 kilowatt. That means that if the compressor were reversible, then only 6.25 kilowatt of work input would cause the same amount of temperature and pressure rise in the compressor, right? But in reality, this WE in, whatever be the work input, is more than the above temperature, right? So because it's not reversible process, there will be some losses due to irreversibility. Okay, so this W in, this is given 8 kilowatt. Now the balance amount is getting destroyed, right? So the minimum amount you found, the amount that you are putting is found. So how much is lost? That's the balance. So that would be exactly the work potential lost or exergy lost. Okay, so exergy destroyed, the rate of exergy destruction is W dot in minus W reversible in. That means 1.75 kilowatt. Okay, so this is the a flow system that we have taken, and we have, there are two things that were asked. What was the exergy change in the system as it goes through the compressor, and it asked what is the rate of exergy destruction in the compressor. So both of them we have found out. Okay, so now let's take the next problem, which does not involve any work term. It only the heat term that's required. Okay, so what we have here is cold water. Cp is given for the water, and one stream of cold water leading to a shower enters a well insulated thin walled double pipe counter flow heat exchanger. So all this term you can see here in the diagram. So what is happening here? Hot water is flowing through one pipe, and another pipe which is like a shell and tube kind of heat exchanger. So cold water is flowing through the outside pipe. Okay, and it is said that well insulated. So the whole thing is insulated. So heat exchange is not happening with the ambient. It is happening only between the hot and cold water in two pipes, and both of them are thin walled. So that means the heat exchange, there is no loss or no storage in the pipe itself. Okay, and double pipe, why does it say double pipe? Because there are two pipes, they are not getting mixed. Hot and cold water are not getting mixed. One is heating the other without any physical contact. It's only the heat that is getting exchanged. Okay, and counterflow, why? Hot water is going towards your right and cold water is flowing towards your left. That is why it's called counterflow. Okay, now heat exchanger, so this counterflow heat exchanger, so cold water entry is happening at 15 degrees centigrade at a rate of 0.25 kilogram per second. Okay, and it is heated to 45 centigrade. When it is going out, it is at 45 degrees centigrade. And the hot water that enters, that is entering at 100 degrees centigrade at a rate of 3 kilogram per second. Okay, now you have to determine what is the rate of heat transfer. Okay, so that's the first thing. You have to first determine rate of heat transfer, and then the interesting part, that's the rate of exergy destruction in the heat transfer heat exchanger. Okay, you know that the heat transfer across a finite temperature difference always leads to the exergy destruction or entropy generation. So here we are asked to evaluate this amount of exergy destructed. Okay, and surrounding temperature is given to be 25 degrees centigrade. So if we look at the problem, first observation, it's a steady state problem and well insulated. So that means no heat is lost or gained from outside. And whatever heat is gained by the cold water, that means to go from 15 degrees centigrade to 45 degrees centigrade, whatever heat is gained by the cold water, everything is coming from the hot water. Okay, so heat gained by the cold water stream is equal to heat lost by the hot water stream. Okay, that's the energy balance equation corresponding to this system. Okay, so now let's zoom it a little bit. So now for cold water system, what we can write, the Q dot in that's going inside the stream is mass flow rate M, Cp is the specific heat, and the delta T or the difference in temperature. So whatever temperature it is having at the outlet minus whatever temperature it is having at the inlet, and this all the values are for the cold water stream. So here the mass flow rate is given to be 0.25 kg per second. CPU have looked up from the table, that's 4.18 kilojoule per kgK, and I insist that you please try to remember this number. This is so basic a number that the specific heat of water, that's, please remember that 4.18 kilojoule per kg Kelvin. And the inlet and outlet temperatures are given to be 15 degrees centigrade and 45 degrees centigrade, and you can write the difference either in degree centigrade or in Kelvin. As all of them are in Kelvin, so it's better to write it in Kelvin. So if you perform this the multiplication, then the amount of heat or the rate of heat going in the cold stream is 31.35 kilowatt, and that's the first answer it is asking. Okay, so that we got. Now if we use this energy balance, whatever this cold stream energy input rate, that is equal to the hot stream energy loss rate. Okay, so this 31.35 kilowatt will be the same for the energy lost by the cold stream, and for the cold stream what we don't know is the outlet temperature. Okay, outlet temperature we don't know, but now we know the Q dot hot out. Okay, and that will be again the MCP and delta T. So M is 3 kg per second, Cp is 4.18 kilojoule per kg Kelvin, and the difference in temperature is T out minus 100 degrees centigrade. So T out we don't know, everything else we know in this equation. So we can find out T out of the hot stream to be 97.5 degrees centigrade. Okay, so what we see that the 100 degrees centigrade hot stream is getting down to 97 points, so 2.5 degrees centigrade it's losing in heating up the cold stream. Okay, so now we know this temperature at both the locations, inlet outlet for both the streams, and these will require for entropy balance. Okay, so if we do the entropy balance, this is the form of the entropy balance, that S in minus S out, that means the flow entropy rate at inlet minus flow entropy rate at outlet plus the generation term. So this is tricky all the time. You please remember that entropy can be generated, and that is why this S dot generation term is always there for entropy balance equation, and this is equal to the delta of S dot system. That means the change of system entropy, and for a steady state this will be 0. So what we can write, that m dot cold, that means the cold water mass flow rate multiplied by S1 minus S2. So let's go back and see what we mean by S1 minus S2. Okay, so if we look at the schematic diagram, here you see that the cold water inlet is given to be state 1 and cold water outlet is given the name 2. Okay, now for the hot water, the inlet is 3, outlet is 4. Okay, these are the nomenclature we are using, and the same we are using in the equation. Okay, let's zoom it. Yeah. So now you see that this m dot cold, now change in entropy or specific entropy is S1 minus S2 for the cold stream plus m dot hot, that means the hot water flow rate multiplied by S3 minus S4, that means the change of entropy, specific entropy between 0.3 for the hot stream 0.3 and 0.4 plus the S dot generation will be equal to 0. So if we bring the generation term in one side, then you can find out this thing, that m dot cold into the, please note the change in sign. This was S1 minus S2 and it went to the other side of the equality sign, so it became S2 minus S1. Similarly, this became S4 minus S3 from the S3 minus S4. Okay, now what we can see, that the water, we can take it as incompressible fluid, so the pressure term in entropy difference won't appear, but the temperature term will be there. So what we can write, this S2 minus S1 we can write Cp into natural log of T2 by T1. Okay, this is the temperature part, and pressure term is negligible, pressure is not changing. And for the hot water stream, what we can write, Cp into natural log of T4 by T3. Now T2, T1, T3, T3, T4, all of them we know. Mass flow rate of hot water, mass flow rate of cold water we know, and Cp are same for both of them. It's considered that it's not changing. So what we can find is this S dot generated. Okay, or the rate of entropy generation is 0.019 kilowatt per Kelvin. Okay, now once we know the rate of entropy generation, then the exergy destruction is easy to find, right? It is directly T naught multiplied by S dot generation. So T naught, what you need to pay attention to, that this T naught is neither the temperature of the hot water stream or the cold water stream. It is the temperature of the surrounding. Okay, if you take a control volume, the boundary of that control volume will be at the surrounding temperature, and that is 298 Kelvin. Okay, that's given. So the value you will get is 5.66 kilowatt. Okay, and that's the second answer we are after. So in this process, what we have seen, that this is not a closed system. This is another control volume system, but the difference from the compressor problem that we just saw earlier, this is a heat only process. There is no work transfer or work involved, so heat only process can give us the similar kind of analysis. And we have seen that exergy is also getting distracted, even if we don't consider any friction or anything, just because of the finite temperature heat transfer, we can lose the work potential, or we can destroy exergy. Okay, so let's take the next problem, which is the fourth problem of this tutorial. And this is a classical mixing problem. We have looked at similar mixing problem in the last tutorial as well, where two tanks of gases were mixed, and we have looked at how the entropy is generated. Here also we have taken two such tanks, and this mixing problem involves water vapor, and steam is involved, and we have included few more twists into the problem, but still it's a classical mixing problem. So there are three major causes of irreversibility that we speak of. One is friction. Okay, the next one is the heat transfer through a finite temperature difference. Okay, these are two major causes of entropy generation or irreversibility. And the third one is the mixing problem. Whenever you have two streams getting mixed, that's the point of entropy generation or exergy destruction. Okay, so this is such a problem. So two rigid tanks are connected by a valve. Okay, as you see in the right hand side figure, you can see that it's connected through a valve. Now tank A, the left hand side tank, we call it tank A. Okay, and the other one is B. Now tank A is insulated and contains 0.2 meter cube of steam at 400 kPa and 80% quality. So this is a two-phase mixture of steam and water, and the tank is insulated. You can see that these hatch lines are actually showing that the tank is insulated, and the condition is exactly specified in terms of quality of steam and the saturation pressure. Okay, and the volume is also given. So everything is given for tank A. Now tank B is uninsulated. You can see here that tank B is not insulated, and it contains 3 kilogram of steam. Now the volume is not given, but the mass is given, and also the condition 200 kilopascal and 250 degrees centigrade. Now we have to find out which part of the saturation dome this steam lies, and all those things we have to find out. Now this is the initial condition. Okay, now it is asking that now the valve is opened and steam flows from tank A to tank B. Okay, whenever valve is open, the higher pressure steam will go to the lower pressure, so tank A to tank B, until the pressure in tank A drops to 300 kPa. Okay, so initially it was 400 kPa. Now the pressure in tank 1 drops to 300 kPa. At that point of time, you close the valve. That means you stop the mixing. During this process, 900 kilojoule of heat is transferred from tank B to the surrounding at 0 degrees centigrade. Okay, so while you open this valve and you allow this process to happen, you also measured how much heat is being lost to the environment from the tank B, because from tank A nothing can go out, it's insulated, but from tank B heat can go out, and 900 kilojoule of such heat is being transferred to the environment. Okay, and the environment is kept at 0 degrees centigrade. Assuming the steam remaining inside tank A to have undergone a reversible adiabatic process. Okay, adiabatic is there, always there, because it's insulated. Okay, but whether it's reversible or not is not known. But the problem statement says that you assume that the tank A, steam in tank A, it has undergone a reversible adiabatic process. Okay, so if that's the case, then determine the final temperature in each tank. Okay, the final temperature you don't know after this heat transfer and the mixing happened. and also you have to find wasted work potential. That means the loss of exergy or exergy destructed. Okay. Now these two tanks. Now coming back to the observation. First, tank A is undergoing reversible adiabatic process. That means it's isentropic process. So this you have learned in chapter 8, that reversible adiabatic processes are isentropic process. Entropy does not change. So you know that for tank A, S2 will be equal to S1. Okay, entropy or specific entropy will not change. What else do you know? For tank A, you know the initial pressure is 400 kilopascal and the quality of steam is 0.8, okay, or 80% quality. So you can look up the values from the steam table and you can find what is the specific volume. So V1A, that means specific volume at initial state 1 in tank A, that you can find out. Similarly, you can find out what is the value of specific internal energy and specific entropy, okay, in initial state in tank A. So all these things now we know. So now let me zoom it again. And what we know for tank A, that pressure, final pressure we know 300 kPa, because when the pressure becomes 300 kPa, we close the valve. So that's the final state. Pressure is 300 kPa, and we also know it went through an isentropic process. That means S2 will be equal to S1. Okay. So now what you can do, you can look up what is the value of S2, and you can see corresponding to 300 kPa where it lies. So you know how to do it. You have to see whether it lies between the SF and SG corresponding to 300 kPa. If it lies, then it will be in two-phase mixture. Okay, so in that process, I am not going to show it again. You learned it by now, and you will see that it will lie in the two-phase region. Okay, and whenever two-phase region is there, the quality comes into picture, and you can also find the quality by linear extrapolation. X2A will be equal to 0.7895. So 78% or almost 79% quality of the vapor. So this 2A means the quality in state 2 or the final state in tank A. Similarly, this specific volume in final state in tank A you can find, and specific entropy specific internal energy in final state of tank A you can find. Okay, once you find all these things, and as it is on a saturation line corresponding to 300 kPa, you can also find what is the temperature of the tank finally. So that is T saturated at 300 kPa. That is 133.52 degrees centigrade. So this is also one of the deliverables. Okay, this is asked what is the final temperature of tank A and tank B. Tank A we already know. Now let's focus on tank B, where the pressure and temperature initially are given. So you can look up all the values corresponding to this particular pressure and temperature. So what is the specific volume, what is the specific internal energy, and what is the specific entropy in the initial state of tank B, we can look up. Okay. Now the final state of the tank B we don't know. Nothing is given. It's not given. It's isentropic. Its pressure is not given. Nothing is given. But what we know is that the mass cannot escape, right? So M1A we know, okay, and M2A we know, because for for tank B, the mass we have to find out, but for tank A, I mean, whatever mass is increasing in tank B, that has to come from tank A, right? Because when you open the valve, some portion of the high pressure steam went from tank A to tank B, right? So that mass balance we have to do. So we need to find what is the difference in tank A mass for initial and final. So the volume won't change for tank A. So by dividing it by the specific volume in state 1 and state 2, we can find the mass inside tank A in both the cases. So the difference of these two masses will flow to tank B, right? And that delta MA is 0.122 kilogram. And the initial mass of tank B is given, that's 3 kg. So the final mass of tank B that we can find, that M1B plus 0.122. This is the difference of mass in tank A, which will go to tank B. Okay. So the final mass, now we know 3.122 kilogram. Okay. Now the volume does not change for tank B, right? So the specific volume we can find by dividing volume of B and by the mass of the final mass of B. So by that way, we know what is the specific volume in the final state of tank B, that is 1.152 meter cube per kg. Okay. Now one property for the final state in tank B is known now, right? So that's the specific volume. Now we need another property to uniquely identify the state, right? So let's go and see how we can do that. So now we will take the combined set of two tanks and apply the energy balance. So energy balance will tell us that delta U, whatever internal energy change will happen, that will be equal to the heat that has been left to the environment. Okay. So this delta UA plus delta UB will be equal to Q out. So delta, we know all these things, how to find the delta UA and delta UB, and Q out is given. So in this equation, everything is known except UB2. The final state of or final internal energy of tank B is unknown. So by solving this equation, you can find that. So now you know two properties of the final state of tank B. One is specific volume, small v2b, and specific internal energies U2b. Okay, so that way we identify the state and we can get the temperature, final temperature to be 110.1 degrees centigrade. Okay, so this is little involved, more involved than tank A, but we can find out. Now the final state we also completely know, so we know the entropy. So now we can do the entropy balance and see that the entropy generated will be delta S of delta of SA plus delta of SB plus Q out divided by TB surrounding. Okay, this is the system entropy change, and this is what is going out through in the form of heat. So you can find what is Sgen, and then exergy destroyed is simple, T naught into Sgen. T naught is given, ambient it's 0 degree centigrade, so 273 Kelvin, and that is 337 kilojoule. That's the entropy exergy destroyed. That means the work potential destroyed. Okay, so here we complete the 10th tutorial where we have looked up problems from the exergy chapter, which is chapter 8 of the book Cengel and Bose. Thank you very much for your attention.